What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NBA podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak, and we got a special guest back on for a second time on the show, Dime Dropper. Good to have you back on, Dime.
Hey, Alex, anytime, man. It was fun the first time, and I'm looking forward to another one as we get ready for the playoffs, man. That's the fun stuff.
Hell yeah, this is my favorite time of the year. Like, I don't follow the regular season as closely as I should, but as soon as the playoffs start, I'm all in. I can't wait for this year. So, how do you feel about the play-in so far? I mean, it's been pretty crazy. Uh, the Lakers. So everyone's got the Lakers as like contenders, and they almost blew that to Minnesota. That was impressive.
Yeah. I don't think the Lakers played that well in that game. I'm feeling good going into these playoffs, and I don't blame you for not watching the regular season, bro. I don't think it's a good product anymore, the regular season in the NBA. It's like just the load management and just the lack of care some nights from some guys and teams. It's not what it once was, just to put it simply. But that's what makes the playoffs. I don't think the playoffs are any better than they used to be, but it's more of a difference in quality. You know, back in the
Yeah.
day, we really still had good regular seasons, and then the playoffs were amazing. Now you have bad regular seasons, and
No,
then
you're good.
bad regular seasons or a drag, and then the playoffs are still great. So it just feels so much, more exciting. But what was I gonna say? What was that question at the end you asked me?
So the Lakers and Timberwolves. I
The
mean,
Lakers. So I don't think they played very well. I think, bro, a championship contender, like, yeah, any team with LeBron and AD and a solid supporting cast, which they have, is a championship contender. But I really don't think, actually, no, it's not about I don't think. I know this is not the same LeBron from 2020. He's had a lot of
exactly.
injuries since then.
Yeah.
Is he still good enough to be the best player on a championship team? I'd like to think so, but I don't know. I think, honestly, if the Lakers are going to win the championship, it's going to have to be AD that's the man. But here's the thing: we're playing against, or I shouldn't say we, but in terms of people that are picking the Lakers to win it all, you are betting against history big time. No seed lower than 6 has ever won a championship, and only Bill Russell's 69 Celtics and Hakeem's 95 Rockets that I know you were alive and remembered won as to be a lower seed in 3 series. In the Rockets' case, 4 series to win on the road. I don't see
Damn.
that for the Lakers.
No, I don't either. And the fact that they struggle with a Wolves team that was missing three key guys, and they had it, and then the Anthony Davis foul with like 0.1 second left, put Mike Conley on the line, clutch free throws by Conley. But the Wolves didn't have a closer either. They shot 5 for 23 with 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter and overtime. Anthony Davis had that shoulder taped up. Maybe that was part of it. I just think some of it with the Wolves was bad shot selection too, like too many threes instead of attacking the rim. What do you think?
Oh man, the Timberwolves two like this playing game and then last year's playoffs just showed a perfect example of the low IQ basketball you sometimes see in today's game. The settling for threes, ridiculous, but mainly the discipline. I mean, Anthony Edwards is an awesome player. I think he's super likable. But
Mhm.
he said himself, he's not the biggest fan of basketball. He said, like, immediately in his rookie year, he said, I'm more of a football guy. I don't really like watching basketball. So when he makes kind of questionable decisions, I think he's gotten smarter. But when he makes kind of questionable decisions, I'm not that surprised. But Karl Anthony Towns, he's been in the league for 8 years now. He's a guy who at Kentucky was dominant in the post. He still shows signs of being a dominant, not dominant, but a really good post player, but he is such a great 3-point shooter that he totally falls in love with the three. The dude
Yeah.
had Austin Reeves on him multiple times in crunch time, and he wants to catch the ball right in front of the 3-point line and face up against him like he's Kevin Durant. You are totally playing into the defense's hands, super unintelligent basketball. Some people were saying that he was afraid to get a sixth foul. And to that, I say, if you need to stiff arm to get a 6'4", 205-pound guy off you and you're like 7 feet, 270, then
Yeah.
that's more of a an example of you not having great fundamentals. And I think Cat does have good fundamentals, honestly, but he doesn't have that IQ. And I think that 2 years in a row now, you've seen Minnesota in the postseason show exactly how not to win playoff basketball games. Reckless shot selection, and Karl Anthony Towns has done it 2 playoffs in a row. Obviously, it's not the playoffs yet, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an incredible game to watch. I was surprised it even got to overtime, but A lot of fun to watch. The Hawks beat the Heat to claim the 7 seed. Trey Young, 25 points. Clint Capella, 21 rebounds. He was abusing Bam Adebayo in that game. The Heat, I was shocked. So I was talking a little bit of shit about Kyle Lowry, and then he drops a season high 33. Great game there, and I don't know what to think of this Heat team, man. Like they've been contenders one year, and then they fall off the next year. Even if I think they beat the Bulls, do you think they get past Chicago, get that 8 seed?
I think they do, just because I think that Jimmy Butler won't have two bad games in a row. I think
Yeah,
being at home, I think the crowd, the Miami Heat crowd, who was pretty quiet for their standards in a playoff game in that first one, I think they'll have a little, kick up the ass to be a little bit louder in this game. But Miami is, I can see why they're not very good. I think the loss of PJ Tucker was massive. Look at their front court. They
yeah.
have nobody backing up Bam at center except for Cody Zeller. And Kevin Love was playing the five, only played 3 minutes because they were like, he can't guard. So Bam Adebayo has way too much weight to carry defensively on this team and on the rebounding. And at power forward, last year they started PJ Tucker with Max Strus, Jimmy Butler, and Kyle Lowry behind him. This playoffs, they started Max Strus at power forward or Jimmy Butler at power forward. Take your pick. It's positionless basketball. That's not, neither of those guys are power forwards. So you can just tell how small they are. And they had nobody coming off the bench to relieve them. No Olynyk, no Markieff Morris, nothing that we saw in the past year. So the Atlanta Hawks destroyed them on the glass, like destroyed them. And it's kind of ironic. I know a guy you respect a lot, Pat Riley. He always says no rebounds, no rings. And it's funny,
Yeah,
to the Miami Heat, and that was exactly what happened in that game. No rebounds, no rings, and the Heat star players just didn't play well enough. Like Ricky G always says, it's about the dudes, it's about the stars. Jimmy Butler
yeah,
and Bam didn't do enough. Trey Young was awesome.
yeah. I agree 100%. And I agree. I think they'll bounce back and get a win over the Bulls. I don't expect another 39-point performance from Zach LaVine. It was nice to see, but I don't think that that's the new normal. I was shocked that they got back in that game. They trailed by 19 in the third quarter, but the Raptors kept missing free throws. I don't think that had anything to do with DeMar DeRozan's daughter. I just think they were choking. Um, were you surprised by the Bulls win in Toronto? And you think, I mean, in Miami, it's a tough task to do it two games in a row.
You're a Bulls fan still, right?
Yeah, but man, it's hard to get behind this team. I like players, and I'm not a fan of DeRozan. I'm not really a fan of Levine. My favorite Bull was Lonzo, and he's not playing. So
I feel like knowing you though, you like defense a lot. How do you feel about Caruso?
I like Caruso. He's solid. I like Patrick Williams as well.
He had a great
Um,
game.
yeah, but they got a ways to go, and they don't spend enough money to really, and then they pay the wrong people. I'm not a big fan of them lately.
I feel that. I was definitely surprised that the Bulls came back. I thought the Raptors were going to win. They were at home, and Pascal Siakam was playing like the best playoff game I've seen him play as a number one option.
Yeah,
The Bulls kind of adjusted in that second half in two ways. I think the first one was they, they were setting the screens. Vucevic was setting the screens a little bit higher. So then Zach LaVine could get a full head of steam going at Jakob Poeltl's chest. And when LaVine gets a head of steam, he still has that athleticism, and he was getting a good whistle in that second half. And unlike the Raptors players, including Siakam, he made his free throws. And that ultimately ended up being the difference in the game. The Raptors, 18 missed free throws in the game, ton of them
yeah,
in the second half. And then like to start the fourth quarter with like 6 turnovers, that was
yeah,
just, I mean, they absolutely blew it. But in terms of Chicago, I mean, I think DeRozan was solid, but I love when Zach LaVine is that aggressive. I think that Zach LaVine, my biggest problem with him is since the Bulls have gone to DeRozan, I know he struggled with injuries, but I think Zach should take the whole, no pun intended, but take the bull by the horns and be that man, because
yeah,
he's a great shooter. He's more athletic. He's approaching his prime, whereas DeRozan's in the twilight of his prime. But DeRozan seems to have more of that give me the ball and get out of the way type of attitude about him. I think LaVine, he can be so too cool for school for me. But
yeah,
I got to give credit to Nikola Vucevic, because this defensive adjustment the Billy Donovan made was he was switching Vucevic onto Fred VanVleet in the second half. And Fred VanVleet wasn't really going at him like that. So I was
mhm,
pretty, besides only one time. And when he did, he airballed. So I got to give Vooch a little bit of credit. I also think he was good offensively. And then
Mhm.
the three guys that made the biggest difference to me in the second half on defense: Patrick Williams, Alex Caruso, and then Patrick Beverly in the fourth quarter. Active hands, just making
Yeah.
plays, causing turnovers. And I think that was ultimately the difference, is that they turned up in the second half. And when it's a tale of two halves and you're the one that had the team that has the better second half, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, and I do like the Beverly ad, and especially this time of year, Beverly can be play key roles, in big games. His defense, his aggressiveness, his leadership.
You know what's funny about Bev, Alex, is that he had the streak of he's never missed the playoffs in seasons where he's played like at least half the season. And it
Uh,
looked like he was gonna miss the playoffs this year with the Lakers. And then he got traded to the Bulls. So now his streak is still alive.
Hell yeah! I hope I hope we keep it up. Get to the actual playoffs. Beat Miami. It's gonna be a tough game for sure. Um, Hold on here. Let's pull this up. So the what Thunder and Wolves. That's gonna be an interesting game. I was surprised. So I'll admit I haven't watched a lot of Thunder this year. And when I watched them last night, I was like, damn, they got a good young core, good young team. I expect them to beat Minnesota. Do you know, is Rudy Gobert playing?
Yeah, I believe he is.
Yeah. And so, but I still got OKC. Do you think they can get it?
I actually think OKC as well, after watching the way
Yeah.
they played last night and or on Wednesday. They're just it's funny. I think they're a smarter team than Minnesota, and they're younger.
Mm-hmm.
That's the funniest part. And man, you and me both, we love the mid range. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is just a
Yeah.
different kind of point guard than these other point guards. Than your Trays, than your Dame, than your Stephs. 6'6", loves the mid range, amazing floater around the rim. Like he could just finish with both hands so well. He's so crafty. He's not the fastest, but he's so like methodical with his change of direction and his footwork. And he was obviously a former Clipper. We drafted him, and he was the best draft pick we've had since Blake. And
Damn.
he the trajectory to be even better player than Blake. I mean, 31 and a half points a game this season, taking this team that a lot of people didn't know these guys. A lot of people still don't know these guys to the play-in, finishing with a better record than the Blazers, who have Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, better record than the Mavericks. I mean, it was an awesome win. I think Jalen Williams, both of them are good young players, especially Jalen Williams with the EN, uh, the, the
Mhm.
the one from Santa Clara. He's really
Mhm.
good. He's been, I think he's going to finish top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting. And then Josh Giddey is awesome. I think he's such an interesting player. I haven't seen a guy with that little speed and athleticism consistently get 2 feet in the paint like that. And
Yeah.
he's got an array of finishes himself. So, and Lou Dort playing the best game of the season in the playing game. I mean, talk about clutch. So
Yeah.
what for OKC? And yeah, dude, they've got an amazing future ahead of them. And I got them upsetting Minnesota. And I don't even know if it's going to be much of an upset anymore.
Yeah, I know. I think they should be the favorite. And then did you see? So, is it true they have like 4 first round picks in like 24 and 25?
Yeah, something like that, man. I mean, a lot of them are
That's
from the Clippers
ridiculous.
and Houston because the Paul George trade, the Westbrook trade. I mean, that rebuild, rebuilding is always risky, tearing it down like that. Obviously, I think smaller market teams have to lean that route more than your mid markets or big markets. But I think the main thing with this rebuild that makes the Thunder look so much better now than they did last year is SGA's ascension.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a superstar in the making. Before he looked like a star in the making. Now it's like, oh my God, like this dude's averaging 30 already. And then
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Williams' impact. He was the Clippers pick this year, like because they had Chet with their original pick. That was our pick that we could have picked, and for Paul George. No regrets. Paul George is already one of the best Clippers ever, and I've enjoyed having him. And he got us past the second round, which he never did before.
Yep. Um, yeah, I mean, and then they don't win that without SGA. I remember watching that last night, and he kind of struggled in the first half. I was like, all right, well, let's see what he does in the second half. Prove it time, and he hits that big bucket, to seal the win. So, great to see that. Let's go to the actual playoffs. So, I'm predicting Bucks Heat. I don't think it matters. Bucks Heat, Bucks Bulls, Bucks in 4 or 5, regardless. Do you agree?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think Jimmy Butler will ever get swept, but he has been before, and
Yeah.
by the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Bucks are talking about the power forward thing. Dude, the Bucks are way too big and strong for the Heat. Like they are going to get obliterated in that series if they play. I got it. I just like Jimmy Butler so much. So
I love
I'll
him too.
what'd you say?
Me too. I love Jimmy Butler. I think that's the biggest mistake the Bulls have made in a while is not believing in Jimmy.
That's why I'll give him a game. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll give both of them a game. I'm usually very resistant to pick sweeps for some reason, but I'll give both teams a game. But yeah, quick and painless, dude.
Predicting a sweep just seems disrespectful. It's like they can get one win, right?
If the team has a star, you expect that star to have a little bit of pride and get
Yeah.
one game, just get hot in one game. Like Charles Barkley always says, like one of his biggest things that he prides himself on is that he never got swept. You know,
Yeah.
also with Kawhi Leonard, he's never gotten swept. So that's why I'm a little confident in the Clippers to people aren't picking Suns in 4, but I've seen so many people like Suns in 5 for that series. But I don't want to jump ahead. So that's my
It's a
prediction. Yeah,
little
Bucks easy.
disrespectful. I think the Clippers can hang in there a little bit. I'm rooting for them to make it a series for sure. Um, Celtics, Hawks, 2-7. Um, this is going to be a good series. This could go 5 or 6. Give me Boston. Do you think the Celtics are capable of getting back to the finals? Potentially a Celtics Bucks rematch in the conference finals could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's what I got. Celtics Bucks rematch. It's very
Mhm.
clear that these last 2 years, this year and last year, they've kind of I don't want to say a rivalry, but they're going to be competing as long as Giannis and Jason Tatum are in the East.
Yeah,
Those teams are going to be competing against each other, and they're going to be looking at each other in the standings for years to come. And I think that that's going to be the East Conference rematch. I think the Bucks this year may have the edge in this way. I think the Celtics are the deeper team. Like, and especially with Chris Middleton being so injured this season and just not
yeah,
looking like himself, I
yeah,
want to pick Boston. Like, I really do want to pick Boston. But the two things I think Milwaukee has going for them, besides the fact that they have the best player in the series, they're going to have home court this year. If the
yeah.
Celtics didn't have that game 7 at home, I don't know if they would have won. That was
Hmm.
huge to have a game 7 at home. And Grant Williams going off like that, like those role players at home, they're much more likely to hit shots in a big pressure game. This
Yep.
time the Bucks are going to have game 7. And then the second reason is that the Bucks will be playing the Cavs or the Knicks in the second round, which I think doesn't go more than 6 games. Whereas the Celtics, even though I have them beating Philly, that is a great series. And the
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers also have championship aspirations. So I think that could go 6 or 7, at least 6. I'd be shocked if the Celtics beat them in 5. So I think they may be a little bit more worn down.
Yeah, it's a good point. I like that take. Um, I'm surprised the Nets are in the playoffs. I mean, how are the Nets in the playoffs? How is this team? Is this team any good?
I think they're decent. I think what they have going for them is that they have Mikal Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith, two guys that on their former teams were the guys that guard your best player. So
Okay.
if you have guys that can guard people's best players, like you're gonna have a decent team because you know what it is, man. It's defense first. I mean, no matter what era you talk about, the teams that guard are solid. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And the Nets guard. The only issue with the Nets, man, is they don't have a star. Mikal Bridges will be a star next year, I think, but I mean, he has a chance to show out in a game or two, but they don't. We're talking Joel Embiid and James Harden here. They have the two best players in the series, so the Sixers are winning this in like I think 5 games. That I think may be the most likely series for a sweep, to be honest.
I agree. And I know you're not a big fan of Doc Rivers. There's got to be some pressure on not only Doc Rivers, I would say all three, James Harden, Joel Embiid, to prove that they're as talented as anybody in the East. To prove they can at least go to the conference finals, if not win the East for once. You know, how are you feeling about the Sixers? I know you're not a big fan of the coach. Do you see Embiid being capable of getting to that next level?
Bro, the Sixers, it's put up or shut up for these guys, man. I
Yeah.
mean, they've never made it past the second round since Iverson. Glenn Rivers hasn't made it past the second round in 11 years. And I know better than anyone, he's had ample opportunities to do so, especially 2 years ago when Ben Simmons passed up that layup. They still should have won that series. So there's a lot of pressure on Glenn. As for James Harden, you and I aren't the biggest fan of the way he plays, but he's still a
No.
very good player. He's still one of the best playmakers in the league in terms of creating shots for your team. I mean, he's so good in the pick and roll. He led the league in assists this year. I think he's had a better year than last year. And last year and the year before, everybody said he wasn't healthy. So he's looking the best that he's looked going into the playoffs. And he needs to perform as a second option. Like, how many times have we seen Harden as a second option since he left OKC? Just last year. And we all said, because he was injured with KD. So just last year, and he wasn't. Everyone said he wasn't fully healthy. Obviously, remember Embiid had the mask. He missed the first 2 games of that Heat series, so
Yep.
we give an excuse. He needs to perform. As for Embiid, to me, everybody says, "Oh, I know Embiid's going to be good." So I would slow your roll on that. The
Yeah.
guy always gets hurt in the playoffs or gets sick or whatever, and then he
Mm.
ends up settling for jumpers too much when he gets hurt. He's not one of those guys to me like Kobe or like Wilt Chamberlain that like could really play through injury and it's not going to affect them much. I know every injury is different, but Embiid, obviously had the injuries to start his career that hurt him, but he needs to continue to dominate down low. I know Ricky says one thing that I love about Embiid. He says if he's going to be a yard dog in the playoffs, then the Sixers can go all the way. If he's going to be a lap dog, which in my opinion means settling for too many jump shots,
Yep.
or not. Listen, I think I'm a big guy that likes great bigs. I think the NBA in my time living has been weak when it comes to centers, like straight up the weakest era ever when it's
Yep.
going to come to centers. I like Embiid and Jokic. I root for them because they're bringing the center back. They're bringing the post game back. Yeah, they have these different kinds of skills that we didn't see as much back in the day. But to me, the reason why they're dominant is because they have turnarounds over both shoulders. They can dominate in the post. They have fundamentals. And when
Yep.
Embiid leans into that, he's unstoppable. Like he's literally one of the most talented players I've ever seen in my life. But it's not just about your talent. It's about what you do with that talent. So
Yep.
that's why I don't have Embiid. Like I'm not gonna put him in my top 10 centers ever. Hell no, until he proves it in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. It's about what you do with opportunity, capitalize on it. And so far, Embiid and the Sixers haven't. Been a while since Glenn Rivers has done it. Harden has underachieved in big moments. And so it's a chance for the Sixers to rewrite history and prove us all, shut a lot of haters up here this year in the playoffs. So that's why we love the playoffs, because prove it or shut up time, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is the stuff we're going to be talking about in 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? It's not the regular
Yep.
season games. We're going to be talking about these games. And it's the games
Right.
that are going to one thing I love is, man, throughout the regular season, like you be on Twitter and stuff and everybody's talking about their own teams, but now everyone's watching the same game. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cavs Knicks is a very interesting series. Donovan Mitchell against Jalen Brunson. Uh, what's the status on Julius Randle? Do you think he's gonna be playing some or?
I think he'll play in the series. I don't know when he's going to come back. I assume he'll come back within the first 3 or 4 games. Um, I got the Cavs in this series though, in 7 games. I think that they're just a more talented team. I think the Knicks are deeper, but the
Mhm.
Cavs first 4 players I really like, and they got the best player in the series for me, Donovan Mitchell, who is in his first series with the Cavs. The Cleveland in my life, dude, has never made the playoffs without LeBron. So I think it's gonna be really cool to see, and I think they're gonna be amped up. And they're the best defensive team in the league. I don't see them going home first round. And obviously, Evan Mobley, even though I like the Knicks because I've always sympathized with their fans and they got a great fan base. Evan Mobley, former USC guy, took us to the Elite Eight. I'm rolling with him and the Cavs. So I'm gonna go with them in 7. But this is, I think, a top 3 series of the first round, entertainment wise.
Yeah, I agree. I've always liked Donovan Mitchell, and I've always liked the Cavs when LeBron's not on the Cavs. So let's go.
What did you dislike LeBron the first 7 years too? When he was like everybody seemed to like him at that point. I loved him.
I honestly didn't hate him. I was rooting for him in '07 against the Spurs when he had that 25 straight points against the Pistons. I
Right.
was like, this is Jordan-esque. This is unbelievable. So fun to watch. I started disliking him when he couldn't get out of the East in Cleveland, when he ran up against Orlando. Garnett's hurt. It's an opportunity to get out of the East. Couldn't beat Orlando. Couldn't get past Boston. And then when he made the decision to go to Miami, that's when everyone turned on him. So
Right.
easy for me. But we'll see if he can get his Lakers. Everyone still believes in the Lakers. We'll see. Let's talk West here real quick. Nuggets, I picked Wolves on here, but I'm leaning Thunder with you. Uh, Regardless, maybe it goes 5 games. I don't see it going much more than that, right?
Yeah, 5 games. As I said, I don't like picking sweeps. So I'm giving SGA a game. I'm giving Anthony Edwards a game. So
All
4-1.
right. Do you see Denver as a true contender?
Yes, absolutely. I do because there's as a Clipper fan, they torment us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're the team that we're our biggest kryptonite. And look, man, I just talked about Embiid, but Jokic is legitimately one of the most incredible players of my lifetime. I mean, he is special. He's got all the stuff we love about old school bigs, post up, jump hooks, at least offensively. And
Yeah,
then he's got a little then some. He's right up there in the conversation for best passing big to ever play the game. I
yeah,
mean, way the other players move off the ball because they know he's looking and the second you have a sliver of room on a cut or something, he's throwing that thing. And he obviously can shoot the ball, but he's so unique. I think as far as being the best player on a championship team, he hasn't proven it, but I think he can do it. I really
yeah,
think he can do it. Now, the two things that are the biggest question marks for Denver is Murray ready to be that number 2 guy? Because like, in the bubble, he was every bit that.
yeah,
Um, and in I think he's been that in the playoffs so far. He's been a good player, but a team that's like, I think they're bottom half of the league in defense. Is their defense good enough to win a championship?
yeah.
That's I'm a little bit questioning it. But as far as the West, I got them coming out the West. I think they've had the most chemistry, the most continuity, and they're the healthiest. And so I got them finishing out of the West, but I don't see them being Milwaukee or Boston personally. I think that the East winner is going to win it this year,
Okay.
unless the Phoenix Suns really start to get hot together and then they show everybody that, like, look, they're the real deal. Booking KD, they're doing this. But I don't know, man. It's not enough games over there.
That's how I kind of see it, though. I think they got a little bad luck in that the 4-5 is Suns Clippers. I think whoever wins that is likely Suns, but if the Clippers got out of that, I favor the winner of the 4-5 over the Nuggets. That's my take. I could be wrong. I love the Suns combination of KD, Booker, CP3, Aiton. Adding KD puts everyone in their where they should be. Booker as a number 2 option now, take a lot of the pressure off of him. KD can be the closer like he was in Golden State. You know, Chris Paul's getting old, so you don't want that much responsibility on him. And then Aiton can focus on rim protection and playing defense and rebounding. I think the Suns. That's who I have coming out of the West. Suns Bucks.
A little
And
rematch.
yeah, I would love to see that. But keep an eye on Golden State and Denver. Denver Suns would be a hell of a series. I'll be definitely watching that. So you might be right there. To me, Nuggets got to prove it to me. I was rooting for them in the bubble against the Lakers, and they severely disappointed me. And so I just got to see it.
Yeah, understandable.
Grizzlies Lakers 2-7. That is I think this is gonna be a heated like 6 or 7 game series. I think there's some real animosity here. If not yet, there will be by the time this series is over. John Morant and the Grizzlies aren't scared. They don't look at LeBron like King James. They want to beat his ass. AD is gonna have to ball out. LeBron's gonna have to ball out. I give the edge to Memphis here. What do you think?
If Steven Adams and Brandon Clark were playing, I would say Memphis probably, because I just
Mhm.
think that they, over the course of the regular season, build better habits, have some great continuity now. It's like their third year going together with this group. But I think that against a team like the Lakers, who score a lot of points in the paint and they're just very physical, LeBron get to the basket at will. AD is just a monster on the offensive glass when he wants to be. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is just going to have a lot of weight to carry in this series. And I think that the slower the game, it's going to favor a more experienced half court team.
Yeah.
And LeBron and AD, to me, are the two best players in the series, man. Like, I like John Morant, but his jumper is still suspect.
That's what
And
I was gonna ask you about Ja. Like there's a lot of pressure on Ja. He needs to ball out.
right, he needs to ball out. And I think the main thing for the Grizzlies is if they can play Jared Vanderbilt off the floor with his lack of offense, then the
Mm-hmm.
best defenders you're going to get on Ja are Dennis Schroeder and Austin Reeves. And I think that's when Ja can like really start to get in the pick and roll and get to the hole and maybe try to get AD in foul trouble. But that's another thing, dude, is like John Morant's best attribute is his amazing hang time attacking the rim. He's got AD to go up against now. Like it's just I don't know. I think in the playoff series, the Lakers got it, but I don't think it'll be easy because, as you said, Grizzlies not going to back down easy. They're going to play super hard, and I think this is going at least 6 games. I think the safer pick, if you're picking Lakers, is Lakers in 6 to close it out at home. But for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, I think that the Lakers are a little bit overrated, even post deadline, a little overrated. And I think this is going 7, but I think the Lakers will find a way to win in Memphis just because LeBron has been there. He's going to be fine. And I think Memphis will choke because the problem with Memphis is when their threes aren't falling and Jaw's not like getting whatever he wants at the rim, they have nothing, bro. They have no mid-range guys. Like besides
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks is a chucker, dude. Like he's not a real mid-range sniper or somebody like that. No.
Yeah, I agree with you on all that. I'm rooting for Ja and the Grizzlies to beat the Lakers. I think that all this hype about the Lakers being actual contenders is just national media talk. The Lakers are good ratings. I don't buy this Lakers team. And so I give me the, Grizzlies, even if the Lakers, I don't know if you saw my tweet where I said the Lakers ceiling is a second round. I think even if they get past the Grizzlies, my prediction is they meet the Warriors. Give me the Warriors over the Lakers. Um, so I'm not believing in the Lakers at all this year, and that Timberwolves game did them no favors. Like they should have lost that game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally feel that. I mean, they haven't proven too much in terms of this team post deadline. It's only been regular season, but they've had one of the best defenses in the league. I think maybe the
Yeah,
best defense in the league since the move. They didn't
yeah.
look amazing against the Timberwolves, but it'll be interesting, man. LeBron had a year off and AD a year off in the playoffs. So the last time we saw LeBron in the playoffs was one like probably his worst first round series of his career. Yeah, it definitely was, but he wasn't 100%. They said he looked like it at some point of the series, but now he's going into it just having scored a 30-point game. I don't no excuses about him just coming off an injury. I don't know how he came back. Maybe he's superhuman. Maybe he's doing other things, but he's back looking good. And so I don't want to hear excuses. He's got to perform, and so does mainly Anthony Davis.
Yeah, gonna be a hell of a series regardless. Either way it goes, and we'll see if maybe LeBron will be wearing like a soft cast at the end of the series on his wrist or something like. Ah, they got me.
Put the boot back on his foot.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Kings Warriors is gonna be a hell of a series. I can't wait for this one. I love the Kings. They're a good young team. DeMontis is a baller. De'Aaron Fox. I like Mike Brown as their head coach. I just think it's bad luck, right? You finally get back to the playoffs. You got home court, and here come the four-time defending champs, fully healthy. They're gonna be tough to beat. I got Warriors in 6. But I think it's gonna be a very fun series.
You know, I was gonna go with Warriors in 6 too. It seems like everyone's picking Warriors in 6. Some Warriors fans say they're gonna win the series in 5. I think they're way too overconfident. I think of all the teams that are playing in the first round, besides like the number 1 seeds and number 2 seeds, out of all the like 50-50 series, I think the fans are fairly overconfident, but the Warriors fans are, and Laker fans are also a little overconfident. But out of those 3, I think the Warriors fans are insanely overconfident. I
Really?
think, yeah, because they haven't been able to guard this year, like especially on the road. And if the Kings just win every game at home, it's over. But here's the thing: you might be saying that's ironic. You're saying the Warriors can't guard because the Kings are worse defensively. They've had the best offensive rating in NBA history for a single season. So I
Damn.
think the Warriors, obviously, as you said, they're battle tested. So they're the one team that can screw around in the regular season and they can show up in the playoffs and win. But as I said, they're battling against history. Are they going to pull off a Hakeem Olajuwon 95 Rockets run, 6 seed winning the title? I don't know. I really don't know. They haven't looked a great team this year away from home. Those first 2 games in Sacramento are going to be massive, like just massive. If the Kings win those first 2 games, then the Warriors fans are going to start squirming a little bit because that's when the momentum's going to pick up and you'll see the real pressure. But if the Warriors get one of those first 2 games, I think they'll win those next 2, man, in San Francisco. And then when the series is 3-1, Kings aren't like the Warriors not going to blow another 3-1 lead. But I'm going to slightly go a different route than you. I'm going to go with the Kings are really going to test the Warriors, and they're going to 7 games. But
Yeah.
the Warriors will pull it off in a hostile Sacramento, just like the 2002 Lakers did. Now that I'm thinking about it, bro, is anybody going to be able to win a game 7 in Sacramento this year, bro? That place is going to be an earthquake. Like I don't know, honestly, because I've been at game 7s, dude, where the crowd, or like big playoff games with the crowd, like you really feel like you're dictating things. Like
Yeah.
when dudes are about to miss, and when dudes are about to make. Like it's a special feeling as a fan in sports. But let's go Warriors in 6, honestly, Alex. I'll agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, getting Wiggins back is huge for me,
Huge.
and then
How does he look?
yeah,
How does he look
get
offensively? I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that I don't know,
He hasn't
and
played.
that's key. I'm a big Draymond fan, being a Spartan dog, so I gotta rep him. And I'm huge on if I've seen it before, the eye test, right? And to me, I said this to a couple friends. I don't care that the Warriors are the sixth seed. Picking against the Warriors in today's NBA is like picking against the 98 Bulls. Just don't do it. The Warriors, they've proven it. Steve Kerr comes from that team. They've won 4 championships. KD was a big part of 2 of them, but winning last year was very impressive to me. And I wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Warriors get back to the finals again this year. Maybe win it all too.
I think I wouldn't be that surprised if they made the finals, but I would be surprised if they won it all with this route.
Warriors Bucks to be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is, as we said with the Lakers, they're gonna have to win unless the Lakers beat the Grizzlies, which is very possible. Then they
Mm-hmm.
won't have to play 3 series on the road. They'll have a series at home. So
Oh yeah.
they can make the finals, but I just don't think this year they're better than Boston or Milwaukee. I really don't. But we'll see.
I would pick him. I was very disappointed with Jason Tatum in the finals last year, and
Yeah.
that's something I got to see out of Boston. But so I would pick Warriors against Boston. But again, I think that would be a great series. And who knows? I mean, the Warriors are the veterans. You never know when Tatum takes that next step and becomes that guy. That's why we love sports, right? I mean, to see him
Of course.
grow up in front of our eyes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Tatum. I think he's a likable player, Tatum.
Yeah, yep. I like they worked out with Kobe and all that, and they're a good team. I like Robert Williams, the dog, Marcus Smart. Um, so Suns Clippers, to
Yes.
me, the best first round series. I mean, I love Kawhi. I have since the Spurs. I loved what he accomplished in Toronto. I've been picking the Clippers the last 3 years. Like I've been supporting this team. At some point I start to become impatient with them. You know what I mean? And like Kawhi to me is that guy, but they need Paul George. What's the status on Paul George? Do you think he can come back?
I don't think he's going to come back this series. I really don't. But a lot of Clipper fans seem to think he's coming back for game 3 or 4. Listen, they said 3 weeks ago it was going to be a real reevaluation in 2 to 3 weeks. Well, now it's been 3 weeks. He said he's trying everything he can on his podcast to come back. The latest I've seen of him was on Sunday during Easter. He was walking around in his backyard. He had no brace on anymore, but he was still limping. Like not to, like no way he could be running full court 5-on-5 NBA playoff basketball. But then, like 2 days later, there was a video of him getting shots on the practice facility, not off the bounce, but just catch and shoot. So he's back on the court shooting. Maybe we will see him in this series. And imagine if he comes back and it's like a tied series. The only thing I'm concerned about in that sense is like maybe the Clippers are playing good basketball and working Paul George back may hurt the team and what they're doing well. But the amount of adrenaline that like the crowd or the team can get from Paul coming back, it's like, yo, we can back to championship kind of attitude. Like we can do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the Paul George thing.
How are you feeling about this? I mean, the Suns are 8-0 when KD plays. They're contenders. A lot of pressure on KD
Oh
to
yeah.
go get a championship, go get Finals MVP, shut up a lot of people after the failed experiment in Brooklyn. Um, what about Westbrook? Westbrook's a good ad. Does he need to have a great series in order for you guys to advance?
I actually don't. I think a lot of people are saying that he
Yeah,
does, but I actually don't think he does because I think if Russ has bad games, Ty Lue has shown that he can go away from him and that
yeah,
Russ is okay with it. That's the biggest thing because with Ham and the Lakers, it was like if you move Russ to the bench, is he going to be annoyed by it? Is he going to, make a fuss about it? But with us, there's been games where he hasn't been great. Ty's gone away from him and he's been cheering on the bench like another coach. And that's all you can ask for, man. Those
yeah,
are things that a leader needs to do. And so I don't think he has to have a great series. But if he does have a great series, because let's be real, he hasn't had a good playoff since this MVP year. The years
yeah,
with Paul George, he totally underachieved.
yeah.
And then with Washington, he had a good season, but he didn't play well against Philly. I think Russ, if he does have a great series though, like play like a second star kind of player, we got a great chance to upset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your thoughts in this game, in this series? I got Suns in 6 or 7. I think it's hard fought. I think the Clippers are gonna play well. Kawhi is gonna ball out. I trust him. I love the matchup Kawhi versus KD. It's gonna be must watch basketball. 6 games sounds right. Do you think can it go further and any chance the Clippers can upset?
I think there's
You,
definitely
you
a
know
chance.
you know them better than anyone, right? You know these Clippers.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's a chance that we upset. I
Mm-hmm.
give it 30% though. So like
Yeah.
70% chance Suns win. I think if I were a neutral, I'd say Suns in 6. Um, I have to go with Clippers in 7. Suns choking in their home court, and everybody talks trash about KD and Chris Paul and Devin Booker again.
Oh
And
yeah.
because I just don't see us. It's like let's assume Paul George doesn't play. I don't see us beating them 4 out of 6 times, but I can see us beating them 4 out of 7 times if they choke.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, dude, it's gonna be hard. I mean, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, I think they're 2 top 10 kind of players. I put Devin Booker in my as my like 10th or 9th or 10th or 11th best player in the league because you know
Mm-hmm.
me, Alex, like I like guys that embrace the mid range and like don't dribble too much. And I think D Book, he can score from anywhere on the court. He doesn't need too many dribbles to do it. He can move off the ball and work quickly off the catch. He's got a little bit of post game. Like I think
Yeah.
that people were exaggerating when they're comparing him to Kobe, but I think as I don't think anybody in today's NBA is close to Kobe in terms of the like his skill and the way he played. But I think if you had to choose a player that may be most like him, I'd say Devin Booker and Kawhi because they operate in the similar areas. They're not nearly as aesthetically pleasing though as Kobe. They're both a little bit stiff compared to Kobe. Kobe was just, I mean, he's Kobe Bryant, but I think the
Yeah.
main thing, as you said, man, KD versus Kawhi. I don't know if they're going to guard each other that much, especially not in first halves. But we're going to need huge Kawhi Leonard in this series,
Yeah.
man. The last time we saw Kawhi before he tore his ACL, he was arguably the best player in the world. He was averaging 30 points in the playoffs on like 57% shooting. And we
Yeah.
were on the verge of beating Utah and going to the conference finals. And in my opinion, if we have Kawhi against the Suns, we beat them. I don't know if we beat the Bucks, but I think we beat the Suns.
Yeah, I agree. And like anything, it comes down to health and the hope to get Paul George back. If not, Kawhi gonna need to ball out. Hopefully Westbrook helps and contributes a lot. And I agree. To me, Devin Booker reminds me of like Allen Houston, maybe a little better. But a great number 2 option. I'm not sold on Devin Booker as a number 1 with all the pressure, the schemes, but
Mhm.
number 2 to KD. Now he's free to play his game, and all the pressure's on KD. I think that's perfect for the Suns. So I got them in 6, but I think it's going to be a great series. And these playoffs, the West alone is going to be so much fun, man. I can't wait for this to tip off on Saturday.
Every series in the West besides the Nuggets one is going to be awesome.
Yeah, must watch TV. Um, who is so your prediction is Bucks Nuggets in the finals?
To be honest, I still don't know about who I'm going with in the East between
Okay.
Boston and Milwaukee. I wanted to
Yeah.
watch a game on their local network before the season ended. I haven't done that, and I don't know if I'll have the time to do it because I just want to get the pulse of the team from their local announcers, like who's playing well, what they're doing well. Because, dude, the national broadcast, they know as much as we do. Like they're just watching
Yeah.
the games here and there, like watching a couple of games from each team. Those guys, like the Marcus Johnsons for Milwaukee and Scalabrine for Boston, like they watch every game, so they know what's happening every game. They know whose players have been in a slump, all this different stuff. So I'll try to see if I can catch one this weekend so I can give a straight answer on that when people ask me. But it's gonna be one of those 2 teams. I still don't know. Based on what I've said on this podcast, I'm gonna go with Bucks because of that home court stuff and they got an easier route.
Yeah, I want to see Giannis prove it again, get his second ring, get his second Finals MVP. I would love to see Bucks Suns rematch, and I'd be cool with Bucks Warriors. I really want to see Giannis get revenge on Boston. I need to see that. It was disappointing the way that ended last year, and in the West, I mean, I want to see a Warriors Suns series. That's what selfishly I'm rooting for, a Warriors Suns series.
That would be electric. I mean, it's already gonna be electric enough getting Northern California playing each other for the first time, the 2 teams in NorCal, and then you got KD versus Kawhi. Like we haven't seen this since Kawhi's been on his level. Like the last time we saw it, Kawhi wasn't considered anywhere near KD as a player. And then the Russ Kevin Durant angle. I mean, come on.
Oh,
It doesn't get
yeah.
better than that. I mean, Russ, how great would it be if Russ got revenge, man, in a
That'd
playoff
be
series?
crazy.
I'd
And
be so
imme-
hyped.
immediately, I'd be Team Clippers. If they pull that off, I'd be Team Clippers because I've been rooting for this team for a while. They just got to get it together, you know?
Yeah. It's all about the defense, what kind of defensive team they show up as. Because we've seen two versions of them this year on D. One that doesn't give a shit and just is slow moving over screens and like just not sharp on their rotations. And then we have another one that locks in and looks like a solid team.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Dime, man. You always bring the heat. I'm a big fan.
Thanks,
I
bro.
like that you're an NBA historian. You support your Clippers through thick and thin, and you know the entire league. You know the game. So I appreciate all of our interactions on Twitter. Follow Dime Dropper at Dime Dropper Pod, YouTube Dime Dropper Pod. Keep up the great
Actually,
work. And
on YouTube, I'm just dime dropper now.
okay, just Dime Dropper on YouTube. Keep up the great work and all the great content, man. Love all your insight and love talking hoops with you, bro.
Thanks, man. Likewise, Alex. Always. I mean, obviously, you're older than me, but also well versed in history, and you always seem like you want to learn, and it's always a fun time. And for anybody that's coming here to watch from my channel, or if you're on Alex's channel, this guy had the X-Men on his show, man. Check that out. Come on now, the great Xavier.
Appreciate the shout out. Hell yeah. Appreciate all the support, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Enjoy the NBA playoffs and have a great week. Peace out.